This evening, we're going to have a discussion panel that will be hosted by Mr. Greg Clay. A native of Atlanta, Greg Clay was appointed by the Honorable Mayor Andre Dickens to serve as the Deputy Chief of Staff in October 2025. Congratulations. Previously serving as the Executive Director of the Mayor's Office of Constituent Services. Mr. Clay joined the City of Atlanta after serving as a nonprofit leader, community advocate, and longtime local government practitioner, working for five previous municipalities. In his role, he works with the executive leadership of the Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs, Film, Nightlife and Entertainment, International and Immigrant Affairs, Constituent Services, and the Department of Labor to deliver for Mayor Dickens and Atlanta constituents. As a community leader, he serves on numerous boards focused on education, community resources, and youth-driven programming, including serving as the chairman of the board of Skyview High School, the board of directors for the 100 Black Men of Atlanta, and the board of directors for 21st Century Leaders, to name a few. Among many awards, he has been recognized as a 40 Under 40 awardee by the Atlanta Business Chronicle, a Whitney Young Award recipient by the Atlanta Area Council of Boy Scouts of America, the 21st Century Leaders, 30 for 30 Alumni Award recipient, the NFBPA Young Public Servant of the Year, and the MLK Jr. Presidential Jum Major for Service Award by the President of the United States of America, our President, Barack Obama. Greg is an alumnus of Outstanding Atlanta, class of 2011, Lead Atlanta, and the New Leaders Council. He graduated from Florida A&M University with a degree in business administration and received his MPA from the top-ranked University of Kansas School of Public Affairs and Administration. He continues to stay connected to his community as a mentor and philanthropist and lives in Atlanta with his wife Shawnee and daughter Amara and two dogs, Duke and Brocco. And now I'll turn it over to Mr. Greg Clay.
All right, Miss Small. I was trying to get your attention. You didn't have to read that
I,
bio.
I tried. I had to get through all of it. I had to.
Well, listen, I appreciate that, and I'm really, really excited to join such a prestigious group. I want to give a significant shout out to our City Council President, Ms. Marcy Collier Overstreet, who's been a champion for the administration and everything that has happened in the city of Atlanta. As you know, she served as a city councilwoman in Southwest Atlanta for quite some time, and so a special shout out to Council President Marcy Collier Overstreet, and congratulations again. Thank you so much for having us. I think that you are in for a very, very special treat when it comes to the opportunities that are in front of us here in the city of Atlanta. I think as a combination of content that's already been shared, as we look at the city, oh, that's a good slide. As we look at things that are happening in the city of Atlanta as referenced, I have the opportunity to serve as the Deputy Chief of Staff for the Honorable Mayor Andre Dickens, working very closely with Mr. Stewart, who I will introduce, along with Tarina Smith from the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And so let's jump in and I'll introduce our panelists. We have a few visual aids for the conversation today, and then we'll pause at the end of the conversation to really take some questions for the membership. I see that we have almost 200 people online, and so I'm excited to see and hear from so many great folks from your organization. So let's introduce Tarina Smith. She currently serves as the Vice President of Major Events over at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium for the Author and Blank Sports and Entertainment here in Atlanta, Georgia. She oversees the execution of all of the major events over at the stadium, including the Home Depot backyard. So she is a big deal. Her oversight includes the Atlanta Falcons football games, not the coaching, but everything else, all the magic that happens, that we love and experience, right? But we still
Off
love
the
the
field.
Falcons. Look, okay, come on off mute now. Come on off mute. But if you have been to a major event at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, she has been an integral part of overseeing that activation. She has been a part of five Final Fours, 17 Super Bowls, an NFL Pro Bowl, the MLS Cup, seven college football playoffs, and the list goes on and on. And she is a gem for us here in the Atlanta market, y'all. And so I'm looking forward to hearing more about her experience. She earned a bachelor's degree in merchandising management and business from Michigan State University. Shout out to the folks in Michigan State on the line. And she enjoys spending time with family, hiking, golf, do a little golf as well, cruises, travel, and biking. And so, welcome, Miss Smith. And then I'm going to introduce Mr. Stewart as well. Let's welcome Miss Smith. Virtual round
Thank you,
of
thank you, thank
applause.
you.
Yes,
Very happy to
indeed.
be here.
All
Hey,
right.
look,
And
and
so,
Greg, we're gonna have to go ahead and get everybody back to COVID protocols. I think they forgot. Y'all got to be more active in here. People back in the day they used to, you
right,
see, Greg got his COVID background. You know what I'm
right.
saying? And so we gonna have to make sure to liven that up. So absolutely, absolutely, let's go.
It's all good.
Yeah,
It's all good, man. You're right. And so, Mr. Stewart, who stays with the energy, man. If you've met Mr. Stewart before, again, I work with him down at City Hall, and we both serve under Mayor Dickens' leadership. He is the City of Atlanta's Director of Initiatives and External Relations, where he has led the city's coordination effort for FIFA World Cup, amongst other things. He's currently Executive Director of Showcase Atlanta, driving efforts to expand opportunities for local businesses and building pathways for Atlanta residents and businesses ahead of major global events. He is a proud Georgia Tech graduate from Stone Mountain, Georgia, hailing
east
from
side.
Stone Mountain, Georgia. Lamar is passionate about helping our residents, again, our small businesses, reach their goals. He is married to his high school sweetheart, my man, and a devoted father of two. Y'all welcome Mr. Stewart to the panel conversation as well. Listen, indeed, indeed. Well, ladies and gentlemen, and folks of the National Black NBA Network, these are two foremost thought leaders and practitioners as it relates to everything that I just referenced. And while they have some visual aids to walk through understanding the weight of the moment related to FIFA and large activities and what's coming up for the next few months and also beyond as the administration looks at ways for small businesses and business leaders and corporate folks to stay connected. And so let's go ahead and pull up the slideshow here.
Yeah.
And we're going to provide just an overview here of the opportunity in front of us. And so I'll pass it to Lamar and Tarina, then I'll come back for a few questions as it relates to the content as well. And so, Lamar, the floor is yours, sir.
No problem at all. So I think what we're gonna do is so y'all just kind of know a flow overview, just kind of give you where we're at in terms of World Cup, talk about something like what we call the FIFA campus, where that is. We'll kind of go into what was the answer to a lot of these large scale events, what was the mayor's creation showcase Atlanta, and then from there we'll get into some more questions and just make sure that people are kind of clear. So FIFA World Cup is huge. I think that we are I guess just starting to chomp at the bit a little bit about how the magnitude of this worldwide event. 3.5 billion people are expected to be watching this said event. For in terms of coming to Atlanta, we have 500,000 spectators who plan to be here. That's 300,000 unique attendees. This is the largest for anybody who's done an MBA or done any project management. This is probably the biggest project management thing you could ever think that somebody could think of. It was already big when it had 32 teams. They added 16 more countries to it, so now it's 48. They decided just letting this be in one country. They said, now let's throw two more countries in there. So it's three countries between Canada, the United States, and also Mexico doing it. So that means that this whole coordination in terms of timing will be across four time zone, 39 days. You're going to have 104 matches between that time period. The city of Atlanta is blessed to have eight of those matches. It's the second most matches, only second to New York. So that's really, like I said, when we talk about the magnitude of how it's happening, how it's moving, what are all the things that we're kind of trying to see. As we'll go through a little bit more into some of the coordination effort, you'll kind of also see about how information is coming out, which will kind of be, good to also understand why we're here from a coordination standpoint. So to the next slide. Each city has their own way that they set up their own host committee. Some other cities, they set up their host committees where they say, hey, they bring in an outside nonprofit, they manage all the rest of the stuff, and they kind of deal with it. For us, as our mayor says, we believe in a group project. So basically, our city partners, we all kind of come together to kind of own and operate our areas to kind of make sure that we have a very flawless event. All of them has said since day one, it is something about the city of Atlanta and the way we work is why we keep getting these large scale events. We work very, very well together because we understand the importance of it. So the next slide, please. Next, in terms of who has what roles and kind of how you go, how that would be clear. The city of Atlanta, we're in charge of infrastructure, safety, emergency preparedness, right? We want to make sure you have a safe, secure event. And then right now, people have seen as they've gone through the city, we have been tearing up some roads and filling some potholes. We're making sure the lighting is going to be well so that that is there. We're making sure that in terms of pressure washing, graffiti removal, like we're just making sure that for as a host, our infrastructure is taken care of. When it comes to rolling that ball out, moving the teams around, that is stuff that's handled on Tarina and the stadium side, along with our Atlanta Sports Council. So things for like day of operations, they do that in conjunction with FIFA because FIFA controls a lot of those things in those areas. But from that terms of like, hey, let's get these teams moved around. How do we get the people here? Roll the ball out. That stuff is owned by FIFA. Showcase Atlanta, our role in this is that how do we make sure to, and that's our mission, look through all large scale events through an equitable and accessible lens. So we make sure that we're looking in terms of how do we have small business readiness, community engagement. We understand that when these events come to town, and it's just a part of it is that some of these corporate sponsors who spend a lot of money to make sure that their branding is on the screen and across the stadium. We want to make sure that there's also events and things that can be anchored down in other parts of town where those corporate sponsors may not come. So that way everybody feels they're a part of it. Because we understand our residents will say, I am not going down there with all that traffic and all that stuff that's happening, but I still want to feel a part of it as it comes here. So that's from us from a Showcase Atlanta side. Next slide. Trivia time. All right. So from that trivia time, I'm about to go through this is where you got to get in the chat. So we're going to go through this and I want to see where you guys have in your FIFA trivia right now. Who can list all the teams we'll be hosting this summer? That's the first one. Get off Chat GPT. Y'all are NBA, so don't be out here cheating. Okay, we believe in y'all. Next, we want to know is how many noon matches do we have? Okay, I see you, Kwame. Let's go. And then how many days until our first match? Okay, I see. Okay, we missing a couple. Oh, Spain. Yep. 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 Morocco. We doing good. We doing good. I think that how many? Okay, Cape Verde. There we go, Don. Okay, Don. Don came through with the last alley oop. Good job. And then does anybody know how many noon matches we have? Hey, there you go, Janet. Good job. And then we go to the next slide. 140 days until FIFA World Cup gets here. That's basically 19 weeks or so that we have to get to it. And knowing those information is what we've been imploring people that you have to be information is key. You got to know where these things are happening. Why noon matches are important because if you're having a noon match, that means it's going to let out on a Tuesday right when folks are coming to work. So from a city standpoint, we need to make sure that this thing doesn't, affect people's lives, if that makes sense. We want to make sure that, hey, listen, we know a lot of stuff's going on, but guess what? Some people don't care nothing about a football or a soccer ball or any of this. They just want to get to work. So we need to ensure that that coordination effort is different from if you have a noon game versus you have a 7:30 game. It's also good for our small businesses because you know that if you have a noon game, people are going to get up, go out there, probably do a little bit of tailgating, but then they're in the stadium. When they come out of the stadium, they might watch one or two matches, but at that in the evening time, some fatigue might have set in. They might say, hey, how do I go out here and I get to experience more of the city of Atlanta because I kind of done my FIFA thing. So it's important in terms of knowing when these matches are because it kind of helps our small businesses, our residents know from there. Next slide. Next, we'll get into this is important. We'll make sure to send this stuff out because I know people will take this. This is our match schedule. So the reason why this is important, and I'll be really trying to get quick to it because I want to make sure Tarina gets in here, is that let's take that first week of matches, right? So June 11th, that's when it starts. So we'll have Fan Fest is probably going from June 11th until that 15th. The 15th is our first match, right? So at that point, we have the 15th, the 18th, and the 21st. I think if people can circle those areas, it's going to be hot, bed, good in Atlanta. The reason why we have our first match, which is Spain. Spain is the #1 country in the world when it comes to soccer, right? So you have the #1 team that's coming. In a few days after that, we're going to have our match between South Africa, and they'll have a play-in match in April. The next day after that is a national holiday, which is Juneteenth, which falls on a Friday. So before a national holiday, you got a match on a Thursday. You got a national holiday that's going to be falling in we have a match on that Thursday. On that Friday, you have everybody off of work. And then if you look on that 21st, you have Spain against Saudi Arabia at a noon game on Father's Day. So if you look at times when people will be coming to town, because everybody can't take off 39 days. So if there are our neighbors that are going to be in Florida, Alabama, South Carolina, Tennessee, who say, hey, listen, when will I come out there to experience this week time periods when we're looking at between that number one team being here, national holidays, and the timing of stuff, it can shape up to be really well. I think the next thing I'm going to slide over to is Tarina can go over like our operations and our FIFA campus from there. Tarina, I'll go over to you. Go ahead, next slide.
Yep. And thank you, Lamar. And just to kind of tag along a little bit, you put in, we had 140 days to our first match. This process actually started back in 2016. We started 2016, 27 is when kind of the intent to bid and just sort of a loose response to wanting to host FIFA World Cup in Atlanta. People from around the three countries of United States, Canada, and Mexico all submitted bids. I don't know, and Lamar, you may know the total number of stadiums and cities. They're not all NFL stadiums, but that wanted to participate in 2026. So this process started back in 2016, 17. Then it sat dormant for a few years. Then it creeps back up. And then in 2020, 21, 22, we kind of had to put our pen to pencil and get a little bit sharper on some of the responses. It was like, okay, give us kind of a rough ballpark. Tell us approximately how many facilities you'll have for us to use. Now we had to get really very deliberate and strategic and putting more numbers to paper. 2022 is when the award came for the 16 sites, 3 in Canada, 11 in the US, and then 2 down in Mexico. I think I got my math right on that one. So, and then in just recently, the draw party happened in December, and that's where we found out the map that Lamar showed, the match schedule of who's going to be playing where. But so all of that is kind of leading us to this. So this process is not something that we just started 2 years ago or the year before. It started way back in 2016, 2017. I remember sitting down and just trying to put numbers as to what do we think it's going to host. We've never hosted anything like this. So what is it truly going to cost? But if we jump into the map that Lamar has here, you guys see on the top upper right, obviously all of the matches that we host are going to take place at Mercedes-Benz Stadium based on the time schedule that Lamar showed. Pardon me, can we see that? Top right, green. So pretty much, hopefully a lot of you on this call have been there. But if you get an opportunity to attend a World Cup match, I hope that you do. And so we are obviously the central figure. Part of that, just to the north, just a little bit, is the Home Depot backyard. That'll also be included, as well as all the parking lots and the area up around the stadium as we get up on Andrew Young. Next slide, our next highlight in yellow. That's our old CNN building, right? And that is where the FIFA World headquarters is going to be for the folks coming to Atlanta. They will have several hundred people that will need office and working space. We'll have a few of those inside the stadium, but the rest will be housed over at CNN. Then I believe the next highlight is going to be the Georgia World Congress Center, which is where our media center is, or their media center, our media center is going to take place, as well as credentials and things like that will be picked up at the Georgia World Congress Center. Most of these large bid events don't really happen without the great partnership between us and our friends over at the Georgia World Congress Center. Then the next will be Centennial Olympic Park. And so this is where Fan Fest will be. For those of you who really know downtown Atlanta, which is probably most of you, when we have these large events, this is generally centralized and focal point for these fan events. So it'll be the sponsors, the commercial right partners. It'll be concerts. We'll also have viewing parties. I think we're slated to operate maybe 20 days. You have a slide on that a little bit later. There may be days where it may be operating where we will show matches from other cities. Like the U.S. right now is slated to play and start over at SoFi Stadium in California. So we may want to show one of the U.S. matches. So the timing on these is very unique. Some of these times are really geared towards an international audience and when they want to watch not just the US market, but also people over in who can't get here over in Italy, over in Spain are going to watch these. And so the timing is a little tricky with when we put these on there, which is why you see a lot of these noon starts. And then I think that's all you have for this particular slide. Fan Festival was mentioned earlier. Lamar, did you have anything more to say about this?
It's one more slide.
Mhm.
Perfect.
There we go.
So those were the main things that Tarina hit. I think we'll end off with on the next slide, which is we'll go to one more, which is what is Showcase Atlanta? Let's go to our next slide from that. So Showcase Atlanta is basically the mayor saying that, hey, I'm a child of this city. I remember the Olympics. I see how much we've grown. How do we ensure that our residents and our locals are a part of this so that, his thing that he is coined, he'll hear him say that every time every time he can is we want to make sure these large scale events happen with us and not to us. And so what we're looking at Showcase is that he was able to bring together a lot of stakeholders in the city. That's the next slide. To be able to look at how do we make that happen? How do we make sure folks are engaged? How do we make sure there are business opportunities? What things do we do for that? Next slide. And so Showcase Atlanta's primary thing for this particular large scale event, because it's not just for World Cup, because we know that we have Super Bowls, we have bids for other things. Tarina, do you want to go over just maybe the gauntlet that we
Yeah,
probably have coming in the next probably 5 years?
yeah, for sure. I know, but that part of the focus for this group is the future. And so with 2026 being our biggest year with FIFA, right after that in 2028, we will be hosting the Super Bowl, if you have not heard. So Super Bowl will be coming back to Atlanta. Last time it was here was 2019. And also in that same year, and hopefully you caught the other announcement that Atlanta is getting another professional sports team in the way of women's soccer. So the NWSL is coming to Mercedes-Benz Stadium and to Atlanta very much in its infancy. We were granted the team, and now it's a matter of putting a team together. There's some information out there about naming the team. So if anyone has some names for our new women's team, we got Atlanta United. What should our women's team be called? So there's a lot of really good grassroots efforts that are built around getting that team up and started. And we had one of the most successful, and it is a blueprint today as to how to start a brand new professional team in a city. Atlanta United was textbook, and they still are doing whether it's panels or whether it's writing about it or speaking to it because it was done so very well. But moving on in 2031 will be a huge year for Atlanta, especially if we get everything that I'm getting ready to announce. One thing has been confirmed, 2031 Final Four will be coming to Atlanta, barring and knock on all the wood around you that no COVID comes back. Because if you remember 2020, we were supposed to host, but COVID kind of derailed 3 years worth of planning on that event that ultimately didn't take place. And also in 2031, rugby has a World Cup similar to soccer. So the Rugby World Cup Championship will be taking place in the United States. The challenge with that one, it is during the fall when we have football, and there aren't too many NFL stadiums that are going to be able to host a tournament similar to World Cup and give up 90 days of their building for them to come in and get ready. So we're going to pursue that from a little different angle and hopefully host 1 or 2 matches during that time frame. I think it would be great for the city. And then lastly, in 2031, the Women's World Cup is coming and has been determined it will be hosted in the US. And of course, Atlanta wants to put their hat in the ring. And then there's all the events that come back that are not necessarily bid events, but that are huge and take all the coordination from some of the entities that Lamar showed earlier. So whether it's the CFP National Championship, if it's the CFP as a semifinal, similar that we had this year in conjunction with the Peach Bowl, we have the SEC Championship every year, the Celebration Bowl every year. U.S. Soccer just is building all of their training grounds here in Atlanta, just south of Atlanta. And so we will continue to do more U.S. soccer, men's and women's at the stadium. So toss it back to you as far as Showcase Atlanta. But that's kind of a little bit of what's coming. There'll be a few more things down the pike, and that's just in downtown Atlanta. If you look broader picture, Truist Park, I anticipate they're going to host another MLS All-Star game. So there's a number of those type of events that do come to the city that we are all part of.
Yeah, and I think the last thing that kind of button this up, and then we'll give it over to Clay, is that I think what Showcase is looking as a we have all of these answers to what we're trying to make sure that we're providing to our residents, our small businesses, to make sure they're knowledgeable, have the information, kind of going from there. But it's just looking at this bigger is the thing that we're trying to say. The
Hmm.
World Cup is huge, but we're really, really blessed as a city that we have this gauntlet of events that are coming. And so how do we make sure, because I'll just speak frankly, sometimes we'll just have our eye on the big thing and you'll miss all the opportunities in these playbooks that we can run. Case in point is that we just had the Peach Bowl, as Trina said, which was huge. The Indiana fans were an economy that were going from, they were following their team to each city back to back to back to support their team. That's economy that's coming to your city every place you get there. And so how do you greet them? So we had people being like, I just want to know more about World Cup, not realizing that not only do you have these fans that are coming, but our Atlanta Visitors Convention Bureau team, the amount of conventions that come here on a monthly basis, they bring in
Hmm.
50, 60, 70,000 people that come into town and they say we're looking for things. How do we get engaged with the city? So we're trying to engage our small businesses, the folks who are looking for economy to say, hey, there's opportunity here that's untapped. So how do we go about aggressively kind of trying to make sure that that's a, part of people's portfolio and understanding. So outside of that, I'm gonna hush my fuss, Greg, and send it over to you.
Yeah, yeah, well, I appreciate it. And, such awesome information, certainly when it comes to the membership base of this group. Well, we know we've got corporate leaders, small business leaders as well. And I want to remind those that are, join this evening that, when we think of opportunities like Showcase Atlanta, these are new initiatives started under the Dickens administration. If you're a longtime person that has had a business here in the city of Atlanta, you may have heard about Invest Atlanta or other touch points, city-led or city-driven, where it's really this collaborative spirit that helps to provide resources and opportunities. You may see RFPs or RFQs come out from these different places, but Showcase Atlanta is the city's response to doing big well, as the mayor calls it. And another thing I just want to raise up is what Lamar referenced. We talk all the time, the mayor of things happening with Atlanta, not to Atlanta, right? And you all are a reflection of that, whether you're a small business owner or not, or whether you're a corporate leader looking to activate your teams or your suppliers in a different way as well. And so thank y'all so much for that in-depth information. Before we take conversations to the chat, I see that there are a number of different things that are rolling
Yeah.
thus far. I wanted to bring in President Threet to maybe answer a question to kick us off, maybe some information that you heard as you being a spokesperson for the organization know all the time about what y'all are talking about month to month. Are there any things that you wanted to lift up before we got into the chat for some questions?
No, thank you guys. Well, yes, I do, but thank you guys so much for doing this. I had two questions. One, if someone knows sort of the economic impact, I think Lamar kind of touched upon it, all the people that come to the city of Atlanta. And then Greg, Mr. Clay, for you, how important is it, that we have the airport here as a draw to bring these type of events here to the city of Atlanta? And then lastly, just Lamar, before you, get off, just make sure you drop in that link so how people can get involved with small businesses.
For sure. We'll go right into I don't have the number for all of the events from the economic impact. We'll talk about World Cup. So the Metro Chamber put together a preliminary economic impact statement before this came. So they said we looked at it from a $500 million of economic impact, right? And so what that had was because I think y'all heard me say earlier, this was the first of its kind. So there was no real data to get into it. So they had to go very conservative. So it didn't include a lot of data, which they'll tell you because without knowing what teams you have coming, if you don't know how many days of a fan fest you're going to have, if you don't have some of these things, it's hard to kind of gather what that is. So they're redoing the whole statement to be able to put out soon. But they're thinking at a bare minimum, it's a $500 million before you even talk about transportation. They were just talking about if the ball gets rolled out, everybody's safe. You use this small little airport we got here to get people in and out. We're thinking a $500 million. Now that we have more of the statement that is in here and looking at it, I think that there's huge opportunity for how we're viewed on a global stage. I think that some things have been talked about was that when the initial numbers came out from the volunteers. So just so everybody knows, the volunteer program, FIFA controls our the volunteer program for everywhere. They control it. They gave us some of their first demographic numbers before the teams were drawn out because everything started back in August. And we saw a huge flux of Moroccan fans who decided I'm going to fly, put myself up and volunteer here. But we didn't know like why did y'all pick us? And then when you started to do research, you just found out that there is this attraction that he said, hey, I ain't bad mouthing nobody. They just said, hey, if I will choose between being in Kansas City or being in Atlanta, I think I'm gonna choose this Atlanta thing. So we saw that Atlanta just had a rapport globally in terms of, hey, if I want to spend some time in a place, how does it feel welcoming? And it's kind of a testament to, like I said, this group project that we have here. So that's what we have in terms of from the economic impact. I think I heard your question in terms about the airport having a factor into this. I'm gonna toss that over to Greg, and Greg can talk about Hartsfield Jackson.
Yeah, when we look at in our President 3 wrap it into all of the what we might call our physical assets that we have available to us, not just starting with the assets that Tarina and her team looks at, but the Georgia World Congress Center and Authority with not just the facility, but for the convention space, but also the Centennial Olympic Park is a part of those assets as well. And so the airport is a broader kind of conversation that ties into why Atlanta is such a unique market compared to not just the exciting things that we've heard, but also the logistics piece. I mean, the airport is generating over $75 billion of economic impact. We've got, close to 500,000 people that are employed on a cyclical basis, including, the entrepreneurs that a lot of us know, and even some of those folks on the call that do direct transactional business, whether you're on the soft side or the hard side of providing products with the airport. And so when we think about people being able to get into the city of Atlanta and get out of the city of Atlanta, not just from a connecting flight standpoint, but just even from a cost of fares perspective, because of the economies of scale for people getting in and around Atlanta, it really, really makes a difference in how we, if we want to call it, sell the city or amplify what makes us unique, and not just the big times like FIFA and the Super Bowl, but also this regular cadence. Another one of those assets that we have to amplify to getting people moving across the city is MARTA. Not really sure how many of the members on this call take MARTA on a regular basis, but if you consider someone coming into the world's busiest and most efficient, right? Because we have both of those titles, world busiest and most efficient airport, folks are taking a MARTA train through three cities and two counties, potentially three counties, if you consider Fulton or DeKalb and also Clayton County, right? City of East Point, City of College Park, City of Atlanta, all of these different municipalities that come into play. But from a broader stroke of things, the airport is a huge cog in the wheel of these other tangible assets that really make Atlanta unique. And I think that for, again, the members of this particular organization to think about the way to do business with Tarina, the way to do business at the airport, making sure that you're signed up to be a city vendor to take track of and keep track of whatever RFPs and RFQs are coming out, really, really helps to connect those dots in order for us to be bigger champions for the small businesses and other folks that want to see their income be driven.
Awesome.
Tarina, I see, did you want to add anything to, just the mix of how you all play into some of those physical spaces and places before we go to questions?
I was actually looking at the questions when you
You
were
were
going
okay.
through that.
Cool,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah. But there are a couple questions in the chat as well as some questions in the Q&A. I think I
Okay.
can scroll back. There was one, someone asked about the difference between our media center and the National Media Center in Dallas. So ours is really just supporting the teams and the media that want to cover the matches at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So Dallas, that was a pretty big award for Dallas to get, but I'm okay with them having that. I'm sure Lamar and the city is as well. But yeah, that media here at the Georgia World Congress Center will just support the matches at the stadium. Um, there was another question I think I might be able to answer. It had to do with the 100 Black Man Classic coming back to Mercedes-Benz or moving the MEAC SWAC kickoff game from Georgia State to the Benz. The second part of that question, that's probably a little harder just given our NFL schedule and our MLS schedule, as well as our other college schedule at this time. We have a really good relationship with John Grant, so we'll continue that. In the 100 Black Men Classic, no, nothing on our end as far as the reservation. So I know there's been a few inquiries to bring that one back. So nothing really to report on that one for me.
I will add, I saw the MARTA piece, and one of the rolling conversations that the administration had logistically with MARTA. Of course, you might, if you seen 5 Points, a lot of construction that are happening with the in-town, say MARTA centers. From a perspective of, and I live in Atlanta and take MARTA as well. A lot of the improvements that have been discussed will benefit a lot of the everyday riders too. You know
Hmm.
for the
Yeah.
improvements that are transforming literally some of these stations that will look completely different, not just from how people look and experience them from the outside, but also operationally from the inside. We
Yep.
anticipate new trains. I know the mayor recently was with General Manager Hunt over at MARTA, taking a tour of the newer trains and assets that will be on tracks. That's going to benefit everyday MARTA riders. And so when we think of these transformative investments that come with these big opportunities, these globally recognized opportunities, it's also going to have, all boats rise for our constituents as well.
Yeah, and I think if I could add and tag on to the hotel or the airport piece. I mean, the reason Atlanta is so very, very attractive, and I know this and hear this because I've worked just in a couple different markets, whether it's Phoenix or here or Detroit. The number of flights in and out of Atlanta, the hotels are in a walking distance of the major sports facility in downtown, and then when it comes to, which is kind of an important part, and Lamar can maybe speak to this as well as you as well, um, just the workability of the governor and the mayor and everyone really getting on board to bring these events here. If you've got folks that are divisive, there are in Lamar knows of the cities right now that have host committees that are fighting with their city partners, and so it's a challenge. But we hear how harmonious. It's not always perfect, but we just seem to have our stuff, in lack of a better words, we got our stuff together here in
Yep.
Atlanta. It comes when these bids are going out there and they are thinking about choosing. If we don't get an event, it's there's it's not because we are not going to be a benefit. We're not going to be
Yep.
profitable for them. We're not going to have the fans. There's going to be some other outlier factor. We may sometimes simply have other events that we just can't move, and we can't entertain hosting that particular event. So
Mhm.
Perfect. So, Greg, I'll let you. The questions are coming in. I know y'all had. Y'all can pick and choose which one, and we can kind of
Yeah,
from
I
there.
see, and I see the one related to. I'll go with the one with the gulch, and then kind of work our way back up. I know that there's a lot of development that is happening right now. I mean, they're probably over there working on the ghost right now to get it ready in time for FIFA. As someone that has had the opportunity to stay at that Hotel Phoenix thus far,
Yep.
it is a very unique experience. I know the Reverb was there. Now you have the Hotel Phoenix and other assets that are coming online. I think about more walkability as it relates to what you might experience in other municipalities. But I think that is a really, really big way in which the city will see different types of activations from a hospitality lens, from an entertainment lens as well, and it really being complementary to a lot of the assets, Tarina, that are on your side, in addition to the State Farm Arena. And the center, we talked about that footprint where the old CNN facility is, that's formerly called the center, where it's being activated to have food halls and all types of stuff for the city to look forward to. And so it really, really kind of bookends the conversations there going into the Castleberry Hill corridor. And I'm really, really excited that those assets can create some connectivity that's happening as we look further into the downtown area, because we know that downtown needed, and I think the administration has done a really good job of focusing on kind of reviving downtown, and knowing that we have to have private partners as a part of that conversation as well.
Sure. I think the other thing to add in is that when you see the development that happens, it helps the package that we're able to do. So there are people actively going out saying, we want to have these events here because we can manage it well. So the more that we have these large scale events that happen without any hitches, that's coordinated well, that we work well with their coordination teams, that we can say we have the hotels that are approachable. So think about it for them, they need a lot of, some of the times when they have certain events. So I'll give an example. We were putting in the bid to have the Sundance Film Festival here come to Atlanta, right? And so we realized that part of their mission that they had was they wanted to make it more accessible because if anybody's gone to Sundance, you heard that you get a Holiday Inn with a door on the outside and it'd be $1,200 a night because they just didn't have the capacity to get those people there. So when you have more hotels, more places for people to eat, you have what easier for people to get around, that you have a place where they can be like, okay, while they're there, they can enjoy and be like, I really enjoy the city. It's a part of the package. So those resources that are happening in Centennial Yards and across that downtown infrastructure is super important. So when you hear about them improving MARTA, we're always steadily still trying to improve our airport, even though we are the busiest and most efficient. Those are things that they can then say that a lot of these people are like, hey, look, whether y'all know it or not, we don't really like connected flights. I love to not have to have a connected flight. So if I can come have all my people come straight there, get in there on not just on Frontier Airlines, not no against if there's a Frontier exec here. We love everybody. But I was saying as long as that those are the part of things that they look for in terms of a full package. And so when they hear that and then also hear they don't have to deal with infighting. And so the stadium is good with the city because the city can help to make sure that in terms of things that they need from a coordination partner are streamlined. When all of things happen, it helps really for us to have these large scale events. Which goes to an earlier question, which helps us then keep putting the city on a more global scale in the map. Like people know us in terms of, hey, isn't that where, hip hop and Martin Luther King were at? Yes, but there's more to us than those things. So globally, we're able to have things like rugby and football and these other things happen. It helps to build that brand for a city for us on the international side. So
Beautiful,
I will
beautiful.
push on that part.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see that, and thank you, Lamar and Tarina. Great information. I see that there's a question regarding small businesses. Showcase Atlanta is what we're calling the one-stop shop for information related to the small businesses and the network. If you are a small business, make sure that you're registered in the directory there. And
Yeah.
for all of the great activations that are coming up I'd say in tandem with other activities. I think that Lamar and team have been doing a phenomenal job of just making sure that everyone's getting the information
Yep.
and being a liaison really for a lot of different touch points on behalf of Atlanta businesses and other entities like Invest Atlanta that are still in the mix as well. I see some stuff related to the federal government. Now, we can't necessarily speak on, the president's administration as it relates to ICE, but I'll tell you, we are having coordinated calls specifically related to public safety. The public safety team here in the city of Atlanta is a world-class team. The Office of Emergency Preparedness is at the table and working and collaborating with all of the stakeholders in order to make sure that there's a beautiful experience and folks can experience and spend money in a safe way. Just kind of scrolling through the stuff here. So I know that we've got anything that comes to
I
that's
think there were some questions Tarina wanted to answer. No, did you get
okay.
those?
Yeah, just see just a couple in the question, the Q&A area, not necessarily the chat. Someone asked just randomly, does the stadium have to remove all Mercedes-Benz logos? That one's been in the news quite a bit. We will have to do some covering, but not everything will be covered. Someone mentioned the white glove program that the NFL has for Super Bowl week. I actually do that program every year with them, but there's nothing similar that FIFA will have. Volunteering, I just dropped that in. Unfortunately, they received what, Lamar, 37,000 applications for 700 plus volunteer positions. So once again, just showing the power of what this event has. So FIFA has closed their volunteer registration, as well as the city of Atlanta is now full as well. So
Sure.
um, but
I'll
that's
also add
just
in
there's
Tarina. Oh, go ahead. No, no, go ahead. Lady friend.
I was going to say, outside of volunteering, there's also ways to get involved too, where a lot of these vendors that are putting on the watch parties and the show, a lot of those agencies that hire folks also are looking for some additional assistance as well. So, go
Yes.
ahead, Lamar.
I think the make sure to sign up with Showcase because we're going to be getting out a bunch more information in terms of pop-up opportunities. I think the application for the downtown pop-up program has already come out. That's a partnership between Showcase Atlanta, Invest Atlanta, and also our partners at Central Atlanta Progress. So that'll be coming out soon in terms of vending opportunities. So we'll be announcing that in short order. I think we'll also have a lot. I think I told you this like 15 to 16 different verticals that are literally going on right now. As I think somebody, we mentioned earlier, a lot of the information we have had to start running now to get it out. What I mean by that only is that until we knew those teams that were going to be here December 5th, those were as a very big time for us. And then the time that we playing. At that point, for people who said, hey, about these watch parties, meaning that from these watch parties, there'll maybe be but there'll be opportunities for vending. At that point, the portal for the viewing licenses hadn't been open yet by FIFA, so we didn't know where these other opportunities may be happening around town. But we're moving light speed to start telling people to say, "Hey, listen, if you're looking to say, hey, I got Greg Clay lotion that I want to be selling, and how do I get the Greg Clay lotion?" We want to be able to say, "Hey, how do I put these people to say?" People have heard about Decatur, they've heard about Smyrna, they've heard about these other areas where you can say, hey, this is where I can look to terms of like vending opportunities. I can also say clearly here that in terms of our FIFA Fan Fest, that team is very much working to make sure that this is local, that they're highlighting our city, they're highlighting our state, and how do they engage with the local community also. They got people there that are like Tarina and myself who are literally being like, hey, let's make sure that whatever we can do to ensure that these people feel a part of this is there. So
Okay.
outside of that, I'll leave off, any other things. I know
Yeah.
these are the essence.
Yeah, well, I will say this as we kind of sunset this panel. Congratulations on just, a great presentation this evening. Really, really good information. I know again that this membership base is very, very engaged in the community, both professionally and
Mhm.
civically. And so, as things kind of chart forward, I'd love for us to continue to think of the National Black NBA Association as a strategic partner in order to help continue to move Atlanta forward. And I know that Tarina and the team over there, as we all support, the events, our favorite teams, the home team, right? That
Home
she,
team.
her team, will certainly be available as well. And so, as we sunset things, Ms. Small, was there anything else that we needed to take care of as we pivot for the program?
No, no, this was amazing. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Greg, Lamar, Miss Smith. You guys were amazing. Everybody, please show them some love in the chat. Thank you guys for coming to be with us.
All
Thank
right,
you
and I'll
guys.
put
Thank
my
you.
Very welcome.
I'll put
Very
my
welcome.
information in the chat if I
Oh,
can.
yeah, let me add my email.
Please.
Got you.
Awesome, awesome. As they're doing that, we are about to bring this meeting to a close. So thank you to everybody that participated on the meeting. Thank you to you guys who came and were so patient with us as we got through some technical difficulties. Before we conclude, though, we there are a few upcoming events that I want to highlight. We do have a slide coming up on the screen. Our next chapter meeting will be February 23rd. It will be our Black History program. March 26th, we have Connections and Cocktails, and April 27th, a very special day, we will have AI and digital transformation. You'll see updates about all of these events in your email. So if you are not a member, please don't hesitate any longer. Please go to our website, ATLBMBA, and click on Get Involved and join the National Black MBA Association, the Atlanta chapter, and even join a committee. Also, make sure that you are signed up for our newsletter and save our email, communications@atlmba.org, as a safe sender so you don't miss any updates. Other than that, I want to say thank you again to everyone who attended tonight, and please stay safe and stay warm. Have a good night, everyone.